Are you sure you guys don't want to do this?
It is. I did catch that.
How brands should reach out and connect. That was gonna be a good one. I think I might have actually got that in the first time around. Hi and welcome back. I'm Natalie, the campaign marketing manager here at Social Peaks, a startup in Waterloo, Ontario. And we're a marketing agency that connects qualified influencers with brands. We've been running a series of influencer meetups, and I was lucky enough to sit down with Reza Jax, who runs a really cool Instagram page featuring lifestyle and fashion content. Getting real talk from a micro influencer, Reza shares some brilliant insights into how brands should reach out to and work with influencers. I started off by asking Reza how he developed his following on Instagram. So Reza jumps right in and talks to us about how that all started to happen. Cut.
Beard guys, this is what I like, we're fascination with beards. I never looked at it as a business. I just thought like, wow, these guys have such a great following, might as well take nice pictures. So that led into like doing outfit shots every day on my iPhone, getting my coworkers to take pictures. That was for about a year and nothing really happened. Like the growth was pretty stagnant, obviously because the content wasn't amazing. And then at some point I saw a guy in Toronto doing very well, so I reached out to him and said, look, you know, I love what you're doing. I'd love to get some sort of feedback on how you got there. He's like, number one, don't crop your photos. Refeature pages won't feature you unless it's a full photo, or like a full canvas. Number two, make sure your pictures are quality. Go invest in a DSLR camera. And so I took that advice, and that was last June, so like a year and 2 months ago, when I started taking it, I guess, seriously.
So with the use of a photographer, is that something that you pay for yourself and kind of plan that out as an event, say a day where you go out and take a bunch of planned photos and then you use the content that way on your page? Because you can see how with a brand who would contact a photographer, have someone hired to come do this, say a model, so all of those costs kind of add up, whereas through an influencer, it'd be a lot more accessible for them to use, you know, someone like yourself.
So yeah, I mean, I think the benefit of using an influencer is you get an all-in-one packaged good, the content exposure in one. You don't have to go out and hire a photographer, you don't have to go out and hire a model, you don't have to figure out your shoot location, etc.
Yeah.
So I think I've never had a situation where a brand has paid for a photographer. The point is, they choose me because of the way I produce my content, in whichever way that is. And then eventually we started getting into content creation projects. So a watch company sends us a watch and says we want these angles, we charge them X dollars a picture. And that's not posts, so that's not on the influencer side. So how I manage that is whenever I get content creation projects, which is obviously the lead is coming in through my Instagram, I do my sponsored posts in between.
So talk to me a little bit about the relationship with brands and the communication channel that comes through.
So number one, for sure, I would reject brands that don't fit into my personal brand.
Right.
If there's a certain brand that I really like, I actually reach out to them.
Oh, okay.
Say, look, I wear your stuff or I use your product, and I can integrate this very authentically into my page because obviously I use it. Let's work together on some sort of agreement.
Okay, and how has that been successful? Like, have you had brands come back and be like, yeah, that's totally cool?
Yeah, like this jacket, this is Levi's.
Okay.
Right? But those ones typically aren't paid, right? Because it's focused on fashion and they know you need your garments, your pictures, so they have more leverage. Other than that, I've had the general messages, which, yeah, of course, are not as... I mean, I think if a brand is paying X dollars, they're not going to send a generic message. Like, they've done their research and they've picked you. They're not just sending a wide message to 100 people hoping it sticks. And in other cases, I've had the agency that I work with reach out to their brands that's under their clientele. And typically when the brands have some sort of campaign running, for example, Dyson has a new vacuum coming out. So perhaps I might want like a hairdryer. And the campaign we're doing today, this month, is the vacuum cleaner. So that's the way I'd work with them or engage with them, with the brand.
Does the agency help you strategize the way that the content is going to be shared, or is that completely up to you?
So it depends. So I've had brands that give you complete autonomy in how you want to do it. They say, Reza, we love what you're doing. Of course, whatever project you're engaging in, there is a criteria of what you have to meet. Some brands, you know, are very specific, and you know, I push back sometimes. typically they give you the freedom to produce your content, but it's after you create the content that the approval process is different for some brands. Some brands are like, we don't even need to approve it, just post it, we trust you, we know how you, we understand that you know how to talk to your audience. Some brands have restrictions.
Dyson and even all these random brands that you would never think of to use influencer marketing can find ways that would make it really successful. Because I saw the blog post that you did for Dyson, it was brilliant. Like, it totally worked, right? So there's an alignment between the content, you know, the photography, the influencer. So that's all important in this whole campaign. Like, everything kind of comes together. In terms of like an industry standard for charging someone for your Instagram posts, like, have you come to perfect that process?
So I have a rate card. I mean, I think it's like any pricing mechanism. It's structured in such a way so that they go for the package that we want them to go for. I said not want them, but like the most value, I guess. For example, someone wanted to send me a razor. Like, I don't shave, bro.
Right. Totally.
I think influencer marketing is an approach to be able to get as close as possible to your customer, because the relationship that I have with my followers, especially as a micro influencer, obviously the bigger you get, million followers, you're not that close. I respond to every single DM. This guy messages me every single day, should I wear this coat with these shoes? Oh yeah, bro. No, get the brown one. So they feel very close to you. So when you endorse a brand, even though it's endorsed and it's paid, and you make that obvious, they're much more willing to listen.
Right.
And they're much more engaged. When you see the Dyson, that's a great example. When you see that post, there's 70 comments. That's a lot for 12,000 followers. And nearly like half of them are like, I love Dyson. So for a brand like Dyson that already has brand recognition, the point isn't exposure. The point is repeating and getting the product in front of their end customer in a meaningful way so that they're reminded about Dyson. My friend literally called me and he was like, bro, I bought a Dyson the next day you posted that post. Obviously he didn't buy it solely because of my post.
Right.
He had been thinking about it for a while. He might have seen a commercial on TV. He might have seen an ad on the street. And then the fourth touch point was seeing it on my page. That was the end. So to have that type of connection and that engagement and that sort of closeness with your customers, I think is very meaningful.
I think you touched on a good point too, in the fact that the micro influencer aspect of influencer marketing in general is way more influential than the macro level. So for instance, Justin Bieber's profile, like he may endorse something, like say it's the teeth whitening or the vitamins, but it's less likely to be approved because it's not like he would go out and buy those products on his own. Whereas yourself, like with Dyson example, you would literally, it's a product that you would buy even regardless if you did an influencer marketing campaign or not. And I think that that's really what resonates with the followers, is that it's authentic, it's genuine, and it comes across as like you would really recommend this product, right? No.
Here's the other piece I was going to mention. I've noticed, and I don't know why it happens that way, but it's great. Most of the brands that approach me or approach the agency or whatever are a fit. Like, I think when brands are looking to work with influencers, they're not saying, you know what, we need 20 influencers that have this much reach. They're going around handpicking these influencers and saying, I think this is our demographic. I think our customers are the followers of this guy. So when they reach out, they've already done the filtering of whether or not it fits me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like when this brand approaches me, I'm like, yeah, you obviously notice in my page that I wear a lot of rings. So you're like, okay, this is going to be more effective. So I think that process from a brand perspective is also delicate and is also something that has thought behind it.
Yeah, and I'll show you an example of exactly what you're referencing to. Us as an influencer marketing software, we can determine exactly who those influencers are that have a high engagement rate and who would most likely fit with brands that we work with. Actually, I wanted to ask you first, before we jump into the dossier, is what would be your number one tip for a brand reaching out to an influencer that maybe has never done influencer marketing before? So if they're thinking of reaching out, what would be the number one tip for them?
Number one, evaluate their like to follower ratio, evaluate their comments to like to follow ratio, and read the comments. I think there's still a lot of gap of information And I think it's important to be able to isolate the influencers that are doing it organically and that are authentic versus influencers that maybe are not as authentic but on like the front end they look like, wow, these guys have hundreds of thousands of followers. That would be my top advice. Another piece would be see how the influencer is engaging with their users or followers. Like I went into a meeting and this lady, a PR company who has brands under her belt who are looking to work with influencers, was like, I really like you and I would, suggest you to anybody because I think you actually like the brands that you work with. It's not just about money to the extent where you're wearing the brands that you work with on a normal day-to-day basis. You're not just taking a picture, throwing them out or selling them.
Right.
So I think it's important to be able to find that authenticity within them as people.
Right. Well, our software can detect some of the top posts that influencers have posted. So what ranks the highest in engagement rate with their followers. On this report, it'll show the top 9 posts that the influencer has posted in the last 90 days. And so you can see how influential this is for a brand. So they can quickly go on here, see what kind of content you post and be like, is this something that I think would be great to work with? And then make their decision. What are some of the common topics you think you talk about? Like, what are some common hashtags that you'll put on your post on Instagram?
Menswear, street style, beard game strong.
So here's all the top posts,
Well,
and we
I
can
tag
put
him because he's my photographer and all the pictures.
Yeah, so these are the top posts or keywords that are in your profile, so you can kind of see like exactly menswear, shirt, some of the brands that you've worked with. And then we've also got a reporting section that shows you what time of the day your engagement is highest on your page. So you can see around lunchtime, all days of the week, and then 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock is a little bit of a peak. So that's really cool for us to show too. So this is what someone would get that is looking for an influencer report, and it kind of shows exactly what to expect from an influencer. So we kind of wanted to show you that.
It's cool. I like it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with me, Reza. I really appreciate it. Follow Reza on Instagram, Reza_Jax, JAX.
REZA.
And you can follow him there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.